All right, so we are back. Still trying to just pull somebody's coat, if you will, on the foolishness that is happening. The liar. I feel like there's some lies being told. Yes, I do. With regard to the family that we're seeing in the media, can't say everything. A lot of times, and when I'm talking about family, because depending on the time of this recording that you're listening to, it's the family who lost their mom. And yeah, there's some lies, there's some connections, there's some secrecy, there's some affiliations, there's a whole lot. Sometimes people are poster childs in mainstream media, and that is due to certain affiliations, connections, and you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You're part of this club, and so yeah, there's a lot of things that are tied to people in mainstream media, and you can't believe every itty bitty story. There's a lot of strange things. Your gut feeling, my gut feeling, we know something is off about these families that show up and suddenly this never happened or this rarely happened, and oh my goodness. And if anything, like I said, depending on whatever time you're listening to this message, I want you to be very, very discerning when it comes to these sudden stories that show up out of nowhere, especially involving celebrities of any industry. Just be very mindful, because a lot of people, once again, are a part of association clubs and what have you. There's going to be information that floats everywhere about whatever the situation is. Great distraction from everything else. The average Joe, average Jane, your mother shows up missing whatever, and nobody's going to put your mama everywhere, okay? But when you're connected or affiliated with, you get certain privilege that other people don't. The liar lies. The liar says, I wasn't there. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how this has happened. I'm not connected with. I'm not affiliated with. This isn't about what you think this is about. So much of that goes on as we connect dots, as we piece together any number of stories. This is what happened with the Epstein files as well. Lots of denying early on. Lots of people who acted like they didn't see, and I don't know, and that's not my lane, but we know better, okay? On this channel, I have talked about Ananias and Sapphira on and off. I even have a visual video with regard to the biblical story about Ananias and Sapphira in Acts 5. This was this couple who sat up there and basically said that they gave all their money, and we found out, right, that they didn't. This sort of thing goes on even among the families, okay? At the family level, you got people who will claim that they got no money and they got plenty of money. You got people who will claim that I help everybody and they help nobody. You got people who will say that back in the day, my mama did, well, that was back in the day, trying to sound like that mama's still doing something even now, and that ain't happening, okay? Or the sister, the brother, the cousin, the auntie, what have you. Oh, I'm taking care of the college, I'm doing this and that. We heard that one. They weren't doing none of that. They was making sure that their house and their car and everything else was paid, okay? So let's not, sit up there and tell all kind of lies. All right. I'm strongly advising some individuals that whatever you like to say, on any given day, to keep people from asking you questions or to keep them from being in your pocket or whatever you call yourself doing, God hears the lies, okay? Whether they're lies of omission where I just didn't say nothing, girl, or things that you actually have said, or a partial truth. A lie is a lie is a lie. And we know that lies, whether full lies, partial lies, whatever, are about confusing people, or about people not being all up in the business and everything else. But I'm telling you, there's a danger, because what you think is just a little white lie can turn out to be something huge that next thing you know, somebody wants to go upside somebody's head. I'm trying to warn some people. You just don't want to be that one that's telling lies. Okay? The person who's approaching you may have been through a whole lot And then on an off day, they forget. They forget, okay, about their freedom and everything else. We know that liars like to control the stories. A long time ago, I saw this play out. He wanted to control the story, my user and abuser. So I'm going to try to tell my story to as many people as I possibly can so that it makes her look like she's the dumb one, the stupid one, you know how she is, you know, and then they go right along with it. Yeah, I know. So I already knew who the traitors were, the disloyal people, and all of that early on. Because when you can't let go of something with regard to that person who is the subject of the conversation, you tend to be led into a conversation with those individuals who don't particularly like that person or had a falling out. Okay, so the liar wants to control the story. And then by controlling the story, they also control the hearer. Oh, I'm not controlled. Yes, you are. If they're calling you up and they're telling you any number of things about someone, and you're willing to listen to all kind of lies, even though you know the truth for yourself and you don't challenge them on those lies, you're being controlled by the liar, because they're going to come back around with something else. You heard me the last time and you enjoyed what I said the last time, so I'm going to call you up and I'm going to tell you something else. At some point, you got to tell the liar, you know what? I mean, I'm hearing what you're saying. And last time I really didn't have anything to say about it. But I've done my share of investigating, and that's what the liar doesn't want to hear. And who told you? And no, that's not what happened. You don't have to tell them everything, because the liar is going to, lie. But I tend not to believe you. And then that's it. That's it. They're going to want to, well, what exactly is it? And I don't know what you talk. I don't believe you. And please don't call me anymore. The liar's going to go on and tell somebody else, now you're a part of the conversation. Now, on top of everything else that they were talking about, to someone else, because you drew the line in the sand. God, he likes that kind of action. He likes when we shut it down. Okay? He likes when we shut it down. Liars want to tell you some things to keep you second guessing. What? Sure. Well, I don't know. I really don't know. Right? There are those that just keep explaining themselves over and over again. You don't need to keep telling me that. But see, he wants to keep telling you that because he wants you to continue to believe. I've been around my share. Were you really at work today? Yeah, I was. And then you ask one of those questions that blows it all up. You sure you was at work today? Well, why you say that? Why you say that? He done took an off day and didn't tell his woman about it. The liar wants to just keep proving that it is true. It is right. Yes, I did. I'm telling you, I wouldn't. Yeah, okay. Why do they get all excited and all in their emotions and everything else? Because they want you to believe whatever the lie is. And when we think about it, with the Epstein files, there was a whole lot of lies. You don't need to be concerned about that. Why is everybody so worried about that? Why don't you just move on? No, I wasn't in the files. No, I didn't have nothing to do with the files. No, I was once friends with, but not any longer. Everybody was friends with this man that was in a powerful position, some kind of connection, some type of whatever, right? But yeah, there was a lot to this whole business with the files. Not everybody, but of course, people who mattered, right? People who, let's work this deal out. Let's handle this. Let's get this done and let's get that. Oh, you like weird things? I like weird things. You like to do a little this and that? I like to do a little this and that. You see? Okay. In February 2026, the Associated Press reported that the United States Department of Justice withdrew thousands of Epstein-related documents and media files after improper redactions exposed victim identifying information, names, contact details, and more. Okay? That's what the Associated Press reported. This was power that was being used in a way where information, right? We got information. We're going to show you with so much information. But then, okay, wait a minute. Hold up. We got to, withdraw some of this information. And meanwhile, the victims, they're sitting up there and they're traumatized. Once again, I just wanted the truth to get out there. And what is this about putting us out there? Why can't they, unredact those names that were guilty? Meanwhile, the people's names that were put out there, now they're subject to all kind of harassment, you see. And what does that do? This is what I thought when I first heard about, just the botched up job. What it does is it wears these women out in such a way where they say, you know what, you don't need to release any more files. Fine, forget it. Because if this is what's going to happen, no, we don't need. But see, this is where y'all, these women got to have a tough skin, because the more information that's put out there, the more that certain entities have to go on to get some people gone, to get some people dealt with. Some of the dealing with doesn't happen in front of us. We know that, right? But there are those behind the scenes that will end up being dealt with one way or another, because this hurts our brand, because we can't get certain things done, because we've got businesses over in these other countries who they don't tolerate this sort of thing, right? But that's what the enemy wants, is for these women to get so flustered by all of what's going on to the point where just don't release them. You see, bingo, got you right where we want you. So no, don't fall for that foolishness. Yes, it's going to be rough. And once again, they hated Jesus and they'll hate you too, child of light. But keep pressing forward. Keep pressing forward. Same thing with the families. Okay? You have those individuals who, this is a family secret. I don't want nobody knowing about this. You take this to your grave. Okay? But this involves X, Y, and Z. I know, but you're going to take this to your grave. But at some point, somebody goes, no, I'm not going to take this to my grave. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to let these people know what this real is. Because this deceiving and, manipulation and whatever else associated with this family secret, enough is enough. The generational using and abusing has to stop. But that also means that certain people, their names are no longer going to be protected as a result. Which means that certain people may be re-traumatized all over again as a result. God will do this sort of thing, believe it or not. There are times where, I know, I'm sorry that your name was a part of this, but you were a witness to it. I hate that we've got to go down this rabbit hole. I know you really did not want your name in this conversation, but it has to be said. And whatever the reasons might be, some people will be all upset and angry and whatever else. But this is all the more reason why, especially when it comes to family secrets, if family secrets are dealt with from the start, then you don't have to worry about all of the embarrassment and shame, and I moved on and my life is nice and cushy. No, you deal with the dirty before all of the I established my life and it shouldn't have ever come to this, where my name was brought into this and everything else. You ran from it. When God uses his people to speak, they're not running no more. You see? Yeah, happy for you. Glad that you moved on with your life, nice and comfy and comfortable and whatever else. But a long time ago, when you could have dealt with this, you chose not to. But that's okay, because God says we breaking generational curses and we gonna deal with it. And yes, your name's gonna be in it. Keep my name out your mouth. Up. Nope, your name's in it. You were there. You were a witness. Well, I could deny it. You could deny it all you want. You could deny that you never saw, never heard, never was a part of, blah, 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 blah. Somebody's bitter, somebody's angry, somebody's jealous. You could call people whatever names. You could use whatever type of information. But some of these people in this family, at the end of the day, before they hit their gravestone, so to speak, the truth is coming out. Using and abusing absolutely took place. People caught up in their drugs and alcohol and whatever else absolutely took place. There are those. Some folks, it was one or the other. Some of it was none of it. They were just mentally, something was wrong with them. Never got the help that they needed. Were traumatized themselves, were used and abused themselves, and only perpetuated the cycle. And so, yeah, if you see it, once again, on a national level with these files, you should be able to see it when it comes to the victims in the family, instead of shaming them and saying, and here's the other thing, we got those who are very selective, because that one got money, so therefore the user and abuser is no longer the user and abuser because so-and-so got some money. Because the user and abuser decided to help those people over there. I'm like this. Hey, you know what? If we pass some money around and you worried about your reputation, then you might as well just give everybody some money then. Now, how long they're going to be so-called loyal? Well, see, that's devil's advocate kind of stuff. But that's what some of these people do. Yeah, okay, fine. I'll do whatever it takes. They want money, we're going to give them money, right? They want to be a favorite, we'll go ahead, we'll make them a favorite. If that's going to shut them up, absolutely. Until people don't want to shut up any longer. And that's what we saw with these victims. See, as long as they were getting the monies and they had the nice little houses and cars and whatever else, okay. But then the man passes away. And the money flow starts to dry up. And now people are all in their feelings. And now we need to talk about what we're going to do about these people that took advantage of us because they owe us. Come on. So everything isn't what it really appears to be, right? That's what the Lord was showing me. You know, victims turn into users and abusers very quickly. Okay? Because they got to feel some degree of power, because power and control was exerted over them. Some folks go, I don't want to be a part of none of it, and they run away from it, and they run into the arms of the Lord. But not everybody did that. Come on, not everybody did that. We got liars that stand before audiences. Not everybody, but some. They're not telling everything, because some people are still receiving certain things, and others, they disappeared because, oh, okay, that's all you wanted was a check. So there's something that feels off with all of it, right? As more and more information gets put out there, there's something that feels off. There's the dates, the screenshots, some of the usernames, the payment requests, the threats. And this sort of thing can be that way even among the family. Okay? When you're stressed out, it's hard to remember certain things. And then that one who's very sharp, very discerning, may even call you out and go, no. That's not what happened. Now you looking like the liar. Okay? That's why we say write it down. Write it down when it's fresh, before you get stressed out being among the family members who you got to talk to, or among the friends or the workplace or wherever you got to address some issues. Write it all down, because when you're stressed, you will say something that somebody will say, nope, I'm not going to believe you now. Make sure you got the dates and times. Make sure you got some pictures, video, things that show, okay, this is what took place, right? There's video where, and a lot of families have this. There's video where we grew up, we had, and I'm going to use an example. There's video where we had Christmases, okay? Back in the day, we had Christmases. That was because the woman of the house, a lot of times the women of the house wanted Christmases, okay? The men, depending on their upbringing, you know, they wanted Christmases. So there was a lot of stuff associated with holidays, all right? Doesn't make us a liar or anything. There was a lot of things associated with holidays. I use it as a simple, very simple example. But then somebody comes along and under stress, they're crying, they're upset, and let's say they say something like, you know, we rarely had anything under the tree, and you know, we rarely celebrated the holiday, and right? But then the video, the receipts show that, no, you all did celebrate the holiday, right? Okay. What would make a person get so upset, so angry? They could have been traumatized during that holiday. There could have been some things that happened since then related to the holiday that they no longer wanted to celebrate the holiday, right? I was one of those that as I just started unpacking some things with my own life, I never took away the fact that my parents, hey, yeah, we celebrated holidays back in the day. But then once I was old enough to understand some things associated, connected to holidays, I was like, no, I don't want to do this. But then I have my kids, and then I'm like, okay, I'll have but so many moments of holidays, and then I'm not doing this. I don't, you know, you guys are old enough to understand. I don't want to deal with the holidays. I don't want to connect with the holidays. I don't want to do nothing related to the holidays. Okay. Sometimes these lies, these lies where somebody under duress, under stress, or their memory is gone, show up, and then they're perpetuated because nobody bothered to do the research, because nobody bothered to ask questions. Okay? Simple questions could have been asked a long time ago of these people in these circles. And then with regard to the Epstein files, and then once those questions were asked, then there could have been the receipts that followed. But some people look the other way. And that's why the liar got away with what the liar got away with. When you are the one who you're trying to deliver the truth, okay, and you've got your receipts or what have you, you don't need to over-explain. I got the video. The video shows, yes, at this time in my life, we did A, B, and C. But I also got video where it's very sparse, where you see this time where we had these moments, but then after that, you don't see anything else. Oh, okay, yeah, that's it. We don't have to over-explain anything more. They have the video. Just once again, giving you an example, right? So for some of you all, you do a lot of that over-explaining, and after a while, people just don't want to hear anything else. Okay? You're trying to uncover lies, secrets, cover-ups, whatever in a family, but you're doing too much of the talking, and you're not bringing the receipts. Or you're bringing the receipts, but then you're explaining every single itty-bitty detail to the point where some of the information, that's not what that is. Had you just been quiet and let some people figure some things out. Okay? Because sometimes you can over-explain and then discredit your own self. Now, if you find yourself over-explaining and you're saying a lot of mama said, daddy said, grandma said, because when I was doing those legacy books for the family, my God, there was a lot of that. Mama said, grandma said. Well, how do you know that? Because grandma said. Well, okay, you know that because grandma said, but did you talk to anybody else other than grandma? Okay, so that means that I'm going to do my research. I'm going to talk to some other people. I'm going to see if this aligns, right? I remember there was a newspaper article that I came across on Ancestry. And when I had this little newspaper article, because I remember one of the relatives said something about, I don't believe that happened that long ago. Are you sure? Okay, let me just bring the receipt. I didn't have to over-explain because the article clearly showed that at one point this person their name was published in this newspaper article where they had won a lottery. Okay. So, oh, wow. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. You see, so some of us, it's like you got to be that one to show information for people to know, right? For people to understand. And even if they do get the information, I can hear some of you all saying it now, they still don't want to believe some things. And at that point, I'm not going to continue to talk with that person. You're going to believe whatever you're going to believe. There was another instance. I was on Ancestry, saw some information, connected the dots, found out that a relative, which aligned with some secrecy within the family, which aligned with some secrecy in the family about this person, had not passed away at a time when the majority of the family thought they did. When I uncovered the information, it was so freeing because it aligned with secrets about the person was still above ground during a particular period and hadn't passed away until the 90s. So boom, boom, shots fired. Rather than the person that was people continuing to spread the lies, they did not want to admit that that was the truth. And so I said, they can go ahead on and they can be as distant and weird acting and want to keep telling certain lies all they want, but God is listening. Once we know the truth about something, we don't continue to start telling whatever the lies were told, before we came along. This is why God raises up people who's about his business. And then eventually he moves other people out. Because all of this foolishness, rather than confessing sin and repenting and acknowledging, oh, I wasn't aware, or oh, I didn't know, or you want to continue with your pride in saying that you know something that now you don't know. God will shut your mouth up. Things will happen. Folks prematurely end up in their graves. You only get so many warnings. And this was the kind of thing that actually caused division. Some of these lies in a family actually caused division. It caused people not to really want to deal with people, you see. But then there were some truths that also created division too. Because God said, I'm separating the wheat from the tares. Hallelujah. You see. Then there were those individuals who, depending on how deep and dark the family secrets were, there were those people who were being very threatening, right? They were saying things like, okay, well, if you say this, if you do this type, they didn't do it to me. But there were those that when they were younger, they said that this sort of thing was happening because they didn't want you. Back in those days, we're talking about some of these people I interviewed were boomers. They didn't want a lot of things. Their moms and dads didn't want a lot of things to come out because that's our business. And so, if my mama was still alive, she would have killed me for this, this type of thing. And it's just like, what? You see? So if there is the threatening behavior that's going on with some people, I would be noting that. And I would also be putting up, I don't care if it's a mother, father, sister, or brother, but I would be putting a PFA, protection from abuse, right? I would be putting, some information out there to let some people know that don't come crossing my doorstep. You might be met with something, that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, I don't know what goes through some of these people's minds, because sometimes in our mind we say it's not that serious. I don't understand why this person's going off, because whatever that not so serious is probably tied to something bigger. And that's why they don't want you to continue asking questions and interviewing and doing too much of anything. But you ask the Lord to lead you, to guide you as you are uncovering some things about certain people in your own family. All right. So please do continue to listen to NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We are going to continue with the next archetype in another audio with regard to the hustler or archetypes with regard to the hustler and gambler, and taking a really good look at this sort of thing and making some sense out of some of this nonsense. All right, so stay tuned. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We do welcome giving on this channel, and thanks in advance. Blessings to you.